July. And so the theme for this month is spiritual play. Spiritual play. And so our topic today, as part of that, is freedom from discord. Because we can't feel playful when our life is full of discord. We can't feel that joy and that freedom and that God bubbling up from inside of us when we are weighted down by things that cause us pain, cause us difficulty. And so I want to start this week with freedom from discord, and of course freedom. Independence Day, it all works out nicely. See how these themes just come together, even though I write them a year in advance. It's amazing. Ernest Holmes, in the first issue of Science Mind magazine, and you'll find it in every issue now today if you were to pick it up, he wrote a treatise called What We Believe. And it's 13 or 14 points, depending on which version you're looking at, that express the tenets of science mind. And the fifth one is, we believe that the ultimate goal of all life is complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. So that's pretty big, that in the foundational document of this philosophy, Ernest Holmes tells us that we are to be free from discord all the time. And this goal is sure to be attained by all. Not hopefully attained by all, maybe attained by some here and there once in a while, but sure to be attained by all. We are to live in this lightness of being. We are to live in this joyful, playful space where we know that God's got us, that God is taking care of all of the details, and we can just show up to do those things that we're called to do that are fun and easy and feel life-giving to us. Now that'll be different for each of us, what we find fun and easy, but we're supposed to be free to do that. So why aren't we? Y'all are living like that, right? You're all skipping along, free from discord of every nature all the time, right? Right. So why not? Why not? Well, the first reason I believe is what I'm just going to call drama. Drama. We as a culture seem to be addicted to drama. We love it. The news, the blogs, the chat rooms, even just the water cooler conversations. Isn't it always more fun in some ways to sit there and talk about complaining and to just get into your righteous indignation, can you believe, than to take the high-minded approach and avoid it? It's interesting to watch how we do this. I mean, I get sucked into drama all the time. I'm actually going to have a conversation with my daughter because she has started calling me. She started her new job in May, and she started calling me every night on the way home, just with all the drama that's going on at work. And she's like, I'm just processing, Mom, I'm just processing. But by processing and talking about it, we are keeping it alive, we're keeping it activated, we're amplifying it in our awareness, which means we are attracting it into our experience. And that is not freedom from discord. That is jumping into the deep end of discord and hoping we can swim through it. So one way to avoid drama is to just exactly what I said, avoid drama. If you see someone complaining, just ignore it. There were commercials years ago. I don't know if you guys remember these. I loved them. And it showed, like, the one I remember in particular was it was on a busy street, like New York City, or a busy urban street. And there's a big trash can. And someone had walked by and kind of tossed a cup in the trash can and missed, and it had bounced off and gone onto the curb. And a group of people congregate, and they're standing there going, can you believe that guy? Look at that guy. He didn't even stop to pick up. And this is a 30-second commercial, and for 20 seconds of this commercial, it's more and more people coming around this trash can looking at this piece of trash and complaining about it. And then finally, a young gal wearing headphones just comes walking through the crowd, picks up the trash, puts it in, and keeps on going. That's avoiding drama. That's avoiding drama. She didn't know what was happening. She had her phones in. She saw a problem. She fixed it. Boom. No drama. How often are we the ones standing around the trash can complaining that the guy didn't put it in? And how often are we the ones that just put the cup in interesting experience that if you want the full-blown two-part he said, she said version of, Steve and I'll be happy to talk about the service, but we had an experience on Southwest Airlines this last Sunday. And this brings me to the second way we avoid drama, which is don't create it. Don't create it. In this experience on Southwest Airlines, Steve and I went to get on the plane. We were on Southwest. You know, they board by boarding groups, and we were both in the A's, but there were about 20 people between us. And he gets on the plane, and the woman right in front of me tries to board in the wrong group. And when the Southwest gate agent tells her that she can't board in that group, she's with her daughter, who was in the wrong group. They board anyway. They call security. They end up having to call the Denver police to escort this woman off the airplane. It turns out that I was right behind them in the gate area, and Steve was sitting right behind them on the plane, so he and I are texting feverishly about this. But this delayed our flight an hour because she refused to get off the plane. Because she wanted to be right. What did it matter where they boarded? They're all getting on the plane eventually. Why do I have to follow the rules? That's how we create drama in our lives. We create drama when we dig in. Oh, hello, family. Oh, hi. Sorry, squirrel. We create drama when we have to dig in, when we have to be right. If you start to feel what I call righteous indignation rising within you, you are on the verge of creating some drama somewhere in your life. And watch that. Do you feel free when you feel that way? Take everybody else out of the equation. When you're all twirled up about a situation and you know you're right and those people are wrong and they shouldn't do it that way, they should be different, maybe you are right. But do you feel good? It's that old saying, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? If you pick happy, you are free from discord. If you pick right, I tell you what, there are how many billions of people on this planet? There's going to be somebody out there that disagrees with you. You're not going to find everyone who thinks the way you do. And if you must surround yourself with people who always think you're right, you're going to be in discord all the time, and that's where the drama comes. That's where the, can you believe what he or she did, comes in. So find it in yourself to just let it go. It's one of those very simple but not easy things that in order to avoid drama, you just avoid drama. You just do it. You let it go. You allow the other person to have their experience, their life, their opinion, and you just don't have to express yours back. When you can get to that place, you are avoiding drama, and you're step one, being free from discord. Step two, embrace your shadow. Embrace the shadow. Now, shadow work is, a psychological term for those things that we have disowned, those parts of ourselves that we have disowned, that place where we separate from ourselves, we push it down, we act like it doesn't exist. If you want to see the danger of not acknowledging your shadow, look at any of these big public figures that implode before our eyes after, like the one I always use is Ted Haggard, who, was so anti-homosexual, and then, when he found with a homosexual prostitute, so, whoa. Now, I think most of us look at this as hypocrisy, and we get very righteously indignant about the hypocrisy. See step one, about avoiding the drama. But what we need to do when we find that in other people is look at what that means in us. Where are we saying one thing and doing another? Where are we not embracing our shadow, but trying to disconnect from it? There's a great book that I read, and this is a little heavy, but I'll do my best to keep it light. There's a great book I read when I was getting my PhD in history on the American Revolution. It's one of the few books I kept from that time period, because that's not really my area of study. But it was called American Slavery, American Freedom. And when people study that period around the American Revolution and the writing of the Declaration of Independence, which we're celebrating tomorrow, they look at the hypocrisy hypocrisy of these founding fathers, half of whom were slaveholders, and they're writing about all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This historian who wrote this book, American Slavery, American Freedom, his name's Gordon Wood, and he took a little different take on it. I want you to think about how this works with your own shadow. He said that this was not hypocrisy. This was an evolutionary step. He said that in America we could not have freedom had we not seen up close and personal the experience of slavery and understood what it really meant. And by understanding the true implications of slavery, we had a deeper appreciation and understanding for freedom. And that those two coexist. Now, it took 85 years after the Declaration of Independence for real freedom to come with the coming of the Civil War. But it never could have started on its path. We could not be the nation that that supports freedom today, that supports freedom today, had we not had the disaster of slavery. Now, in our personal lives, how does that work? We have a shadow self that many of us have disowned. You know, my own shadow is the slacker. I never want to be accused of being lazy. That's kind of the thing I've disowned. That's my shadow. So I push. But what I found is that when I embrace my quiet times, if you want to call it lazy, you can, but when I embrace my quiet times, I'm more creative. I'm more grounded. Things come more easily. So while the doing and the achieving is certainly great and has served me well in my life and career, by embracing the part of me that I tried to disown, by embracing my slacker, I am a more whole, well-rounded person. I have a deeper sense of achievement because of those quiet times. That's when we can experience freedom. Have you ever, it's part of the human condition, you all do this, you just may not know it. There's a piece of you that you hope nobody knows about. You disown it and you take all of this energy, pushing it down, and acting as if it doesn't exist. You don't want anyone to know. You don't want anyone to know that this part of you exists. Whatever it is for each of us, it's so terrible. Whatever it is, I tell you it's not that terrible because we all have it. But you have been brought up to believe that there's a piece of you that you can't show because it's so shameful. How free are you while you're walking around hiding that? While you're walking around holding it down, like holding the cork under the water. While you're walking around expending energy so that people don't know. Embrace it. Acknowledge it. Barge right into it. Make it part of who you are. That's part of your whole self. That's when you get to experience freedom from discord. The discord is in you hiding it. It's who you are. We all have them. Maybe not exactly the same. So embrace that shadow. Love it. Bring it together. And then last, recognize unity. I love what Jeff read about from Dr. Ernst Holmes about freedom is not something that one power bestows on another power or that we have to look to a power to give us. Freedom comes from recognizing our unity with all life. We are one with everything. I say this all the time in classes and from up here and in my personal life, but if it's the highest and best good for one person, it must be the highest and best good for all people because we are all one, and that is spiritual law. And anytime if you ever come to me for counseling with an issue because somebody's doing something to you and you want them to stop, I'm going to tell you that what's the highest and best good for you must be the highest and best good for them because it is law. We are in unity. There's a martial art known as Aikido. It's kind of based in Taoism. And the idea of Aikido is that you never counter your opponent's energy with force coming directly opposite. You instead, as your opponent comes at you, you turn and use their momentum to go in the same direction. I think that's a beautiful analogy for how we experience freedom. Because we're never free when we're against, when we're in opposition, when we're fighting something. Even the American Revolution has been called by historians a conservative revolution. Because unlike many revolutions where, there's a power here and these people are subjugated here and they start a war to violently overthrow the power, and that's the definition of revolution. The American Revolution, there's a power in England, and that same power had been in the United States, or in the colonies at the time. All of the upper-class values of England had been the planter and merchant class values of the United States. There was no againstness. There was no opposition. The two were of one accord. And it wasn't until after the French and Indian War, when King George decided he wanted to try to subjugate these folks, he wanted to try to tax them unreasonably, that the discord started. And if you actually read the Declaration of Independence, all the way through, not just the preamble, the colonists list what they call abuses, but what they say at the end is, we just want to be reinstated to the unity of being equals with Great Britain. And so as we look to tomorrow to celebrate this idea of freedom and independence, where we in the United States are celebrating our independence from what through history has come to be called a colonizing power or a subjugating power, what we're really celebrating is a moment in time when a group of men in Philadelphia said, we all want the same thing. We all want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We should all be able to get there together. You don't have to hurt us, King George, for you to get what you want. Let's look at this in our unity rather than in opposition. Now, that's not the way we usually think about the American Revolution. I see a couple of confused skulls up there, actually, but it's the way historians do it. They talk about, and our one Brit over there is happy with this, right? So, I believe that the people who wrote the Declaration of Independence were proto-science of mind people. They were proto-transcendentalists. And they absolutely saw that the only way to have freedom from discord was to acknowledge the unity, to acknowledge what was similar rather than what was different. And then to stand our ground. When we recognize unity in the same piece that Jeff read from, Ernest Holmes says something about this does not mean being a doormat. It does not mean being a doormat. We don't get freedom from discord by allowing people to walk all over us. But there is a way to smile and say no, and establish a boundary, and then love anyway in that freedom. And that's what the American colonists did. They said, we are all one people. We want the same rights we've always had that you in England enjoy, and we're just going to claim those. And if you try to change it, we'll stand our ground. But that's what we want. So as we celebrate freedom, let's celebrate this freedom from discord. Avoid drama. Avoid it, and by God, don't create it. Embrace your shadow. Don't try to hide it. Don't try. It's what makes us who we are. And then recognize that unity of all life. Recognize that we're all one. We're all here to celebrate the freedom, which is the divine quality of God. It's not only our kind of mantra here in the United States. It is a divine quality, and it is our birthright. Let's pray. And so as we step into this consciousness, as we step into this consciousness of freedom, as we step into this energy of freedom, we recognize that we are expressing and experiencing God, that we are part of that playful energy, that light energy, that joy that is the one Spirit, that we are free to be and do and have exactly who we are and whatever we want. I accept for each of us that there is a divine life that is greater than we can conceptualize with our human mind, and it flows through us and as us and in us. It is the truth of who we are, and it is calling us every single moment to express freedom, to let go of those things that bind us, to let go of the burdens, and to step more fully into that divine expression of life. I know for each of us that we leave here today with a new and deeper understanding of this freedom, that we feel the weight lifted from our shoulders, we feel the cloud cleared from our heart, we feel any confusion gone from our mind, as we are clear that we are one with that divine life and we are free to express however we came here to express. I accept for each of us that we carry this feeling into the rest of our day and week and life, that we have a new thought about freedom, and that we recognize that discord of any nature is not who we are. We examine it, we look at it, but we let it go, knowing that that God within wants us to have joy, wants us to have freedom, wants us to be happy, and we know that we are expressing God when we feel that way. And so I just give thanks for each and every person present, knowing that this divine life is flowing through them, that we are all channels of the divine, and that we come together in this amazing co-creative experience, knowing that God is always God and expresses so fully when we're in community like this. I know that we enjoy this holiday weekend with a new perspective on freedom, a new perspective on the independence that we all have, that we all share, and that we all allow others to have. It is with gratitude that I also give thanks to know that this principle of God in action works all the time, and that there is a divine law that says that what is the highest and best for one must be the highest and best for all. And so, with gratitude and celebrating this unity of all life, I just allow the alchemy of love and law to work on my words, to work on our hearts, to allow us to come into alignment, knowing that God is good, that we are blessed, and that all is well, no matter what. And let's anchor this